Hello there, my name is Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much for being here. Today we are doing my February wrap-up, just a few days late than I wanted it to come out, but that's okay. We are moving on and upward and forward. And do I have the totals with me, the statistics? I do, because I'm filming it later than I wanted to. So in this wrap-up, we are going to talk about one book that I did not talk about in January because I filmed that wrap-up super early. And then we are going to talk about the rest of the books that I read in February. So not including this one that I read in January, I read a total of 6 books in February for a total of 2,717 pages across 4 different genres, and I read 4% total of my TBR. I read 4% of my TBR. I had 3 4-star books, 2 3-star books, and 1 2-star book. And we are going to talk about it. Without any further ado, let's get into the books. Let's first talk about this one in January that I didn't get to read. So this is not included in the statistics. This is Rainbow Rowell by Wayward Son. Of course it is. Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. This is the second in the Simon Snow trilogy. This one was very interesting. It's kind of like a road trip style book. It's very strange because in this book, it definitively is like, we're not really an overarching kind of series. Like, there's no overarching plot aside from the fact that, like, we're following the same characters. It really could be, like, short story entries, but they're not short stories. They're, like, novel size. I don't want to say too much about this book because it is the second in the series, but what I will say are all of my favorite things because I ended up giving this a 4-star. I really love the characters. I love the little story we follow, the small bits of character development, because this book really isn't about plot, and I don't think really the series is about plot too much at all. I think that this is much more to do with characters and their development and their relationships and how beautiful it is and tragic when you're trying to fall in love, when you are in love with someone so fiercely and you have so many emotions that you've never really had to deal with before. A lot about mental health and having a support system and people being there for you, and it was gorgeous and lovely and I loved it. Not plot heavy at all, so don't go into it thinking that. Very much a character driven story, but very good. 4 stars. Now into the February book. So the first book that I finished in February is The Dragon Pearl by Yoon Lee. I gave this 3 stars. I thought that this was good. I enjoyed that it was sci-fi. I feel like the mix of the myth and sci-fi was done very well. I just would have liked to spend more time in this world. I felt like there wasn't a lot of like world building and like character development. I felt was a little bit weak as well. Our main character was fairly cool to follow around, but I felt like everyone around her kind of just served the plot. I really enjoyed the mythos of the fox spirits and like all of that. I really loved how the whole galaxy, the whole of this whole space, all of outer space has the mix of mythos and everyone being advanced and space travel, and it's so cool and interesting. So we follow Min, I'm sorry. Her and her mother are told that June, her brother, has basically deserted the Space Force, and so Min knows that can't be true, so she goes and basically tries to figure out what happened, and that's really all I can say without spoiling it. I thought this was really adventurous, really fun. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I just really would have liked a little bit more depth in the characters and the world building. Oh my gosh, this book took me nearly the entire month to read it. I was reading this for 3 weeks straight. Holy shit balls. But I gave it a 4-star. This is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. This was interesting, okay? There were a lot of times where our main character, Tracker, was telling us a story around the real story he's trying to tell us. Is very interesting. So basically, we are following Tracker. Tracker is the main character. He is locked up in jail in the very beginning of the story, and someone comes to basically interrogate him and get the story out of him. And so Tracker decides to tell the story to this person. And so we are being told the story by Tracker as if we were the person coming to interrogate him. This is so cool. Like, it's heavy, It's dark. There's a lot of talk about sexual assault and like so much violence. The violence is so bloody and hardcore and graphic, and like there are moments where I'm not expecting it. And I listened to this on audiobook because it's a chunky one. It's like 620 pages, and there's a lot of words on these pages, you guys. But I really enjoyed it. I thought the style of writing was so unique, and because it was a story that was being told to us secondhand, there was a lot of instances where we were kind of getting the story and then Tracker's double narration on top of it. And the overall plot is that there is a child who is dead. We know that from the beginning, that the child is dead. And Tracker was tasked with finding this child along with a group of other people. And he is in jail because the person who tasked him with finding the child believes that Tracker killed the child. And so Tracker is like, this whole story is like him, like before, like all the backstory you could ever need on Tracker, so that way you will always feel sympathetic to all of his plights and about the way he views the world. And like there's this whole character arc he goes through before the actual plot of the story starts happening. And like I didn't hate it. It was just a lot, but I loved it. And it was glorious. Like, I read this so slow, and I feel like I did that because it was just a lot to take in. There was a lot of story, a lot of development, but it was just so good. Yeah, it was really good. So I'm really excited. This is a first in a trilogy. The next one is called Moon Witch Spider King, who are two characters. Black Leopard and Red Wolf are also two characters in the story. And Moon Witch and Spider King are two characters mentioned in this story. They appear in this story, and I think book 2 is supposed to be some of the events and other events connecting to this story, but from a different perspective. So in the next book, we're not following Tracker's perspective, which I will miss because he's great. He's kind of awful and like a jerk and really, really violent, but I really enjoyed following him, and his story was very tragic. And really, that's all it takes for me to sympathize and love a character, is the tragedy of it all. So 4 stars. Loved this beast. It took me 3 weeks to read. And I didn't say it, this one also is part of a series. The sequel came out this year called Tiger Honor, and it is following a different character who is also going into the Space Force. But I do think that I'm going to continue the series because I do enjoy, or I want to know if the world building gets better, and I want to know more about the world. So if the second one ends up being not as good or not good enough, then I'll probably stop if there are more, but I do want to read the second in the series. The third book that I read was Sister of Sword and Song by Rebecca Ross. I gave this 3 stars, so I enjoyed this. I just felt like the same kind of thing. There wasn't enough world building. Characters were just who they were to serve plot, and I don't enjoy that about characters. If there is a villain, a one-person villain, I should really feel like they have motive, and I just didn't feel that way in this book at all. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy a lot of it, because this book did something interesting that I've never had another book do before. I really enjoyed the sister relationship in this book. It was actually lovely, and for this book's plot to hinge on the sisters' relationship of Halcyon and Evadne, I thought that it had done such a good job that I really cared about not only their relationship, but them as people. Their relationship made me care more about the individual sisters. So I guess our main perspective is from Evadne, who is the younger sister, and at first I really didn't like her. I thought she was bland and blank. Very much Wet Blanket style. She just had, who was she? I don't know. She just did things. And for why? I don't know. But after getting perspective from Halcyon, I really started to enjoy their dynamic. I started to understand more about their relationship. And in turn, I started to understand more about Evadne. And I ended up really enjoying her towards the end. There was a little bit of a romance in this as well, which I did not see coming. I had hoped that there would be, but I didn't see it coming because this was so focused on the sister relationship on the back. But it it was fairly lovely. I wish there was more about the world building, and I wish that the villain had more of a motive, but it was enjoyable nonetheless. And I do love the mythos of it all. It was a little bit like tongue-in-cheek because it was basically Greek, but just a little bit different, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. The fourth book I finished in February is What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I did not plan on reading this book in this month because I just didn't. However, the Buzzword Readathon was happening, is still happening. I am doing it every month, and for February, the buzzword was me, you, us, and any kind of pronouns like that, and literally I looked through all of my books, literally all of them, and it was either this or Act Your Age, Eve Brown, but then I'd have to read Danny Brown first, and like, that was just too many books. It wasn't going to happen. So I picked this one up instead. Also, the sequel had come out recently, Here's to Us, and I wanted to know if I would enjoy it. I heard so many bad things about this book, and I thought, you know, maybe it won't be so bad. It is so bad. This is my 2-star book. I hated it. I hated it. I did not care for Arthur ever once. Ben felt like a fake. Like, everything about him felt fake. And the way that he handled the relationship as it moved forward was just god-awful. I really hated all of it. I think I hated all of it, and none of it made sense to me. None of it was believable. And the reason why this gets 2 stars and not 1 star is because I do like this kind of storytelling. There was a book that I read in, I believe it was July of 2021. It was called The Falling in Love Montage. I forgot who wrote it, but it was absolutely beautiful, and it was about 2 girls who were falling in love and dating for a while, and they ended up not staying together, basically with the insinuation that they were going to be together soon in the future. They were just putting their relationship on hold for the moment, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it to pieces. I think about it all the time, and that's why I know that I love this kind of scenario where, because they don't end up together. This isn't a romance. It's not even a spoiler, because a romance has a happily ever after, and this does not. It is not a romance. It's a contemporary piece of bullshit, and I hated it. And they really take this one beautiful, tragic piece of storytelling where, like, they have this beautiful love story, and then they have to wait a while to come back and reunite with each other, and then when they do, it's so sweet, but you know it's just like a taste at the end, and they just didn't, and I hated it. It was trash. I hated it, and I'm not continuing that series, and I'm probably getting rid of this book. It's awful, you guys. Okay, so this is my second Albertalli. I read Leah on the Offbeat last year. I think also in July. I gave that a 3-star, and now I'm giving this one a 2-star, and I really don't think that I'm reading another Albertalli ever again, and I don't know if I'm going to even give Adam Silvera another try, because I'm pretty sure he wrote Ben and Albertalli wrote Arthur, and I hated them both. I hated the writing in both. I hated the character development in both. They were literally in New York, and there was no atmosphere. Get out of my face. The next book that I finished was Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I read this for the Literally Dead Book Club. I am filming this the day before the live show, so I haven't done the live show with Kayla yet. Or no, 2 days before the live show. So I haven't done the live show yet, but I'm very excited to see what everybody else thought about this book. I gave this a 4-star. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was such a good revenge story. I really didn't think, I don't know, a while ago I thought that I didn't like revenge stories, but I just love a revenge story. I think they're so cool, and I feel like this one was done very well. The characters knew how shit they were, the dads, and how awfully they treated their son. This line, I think, really says it all and about why I really enjoy it. I could kill them all 1,000 times and it wouldn't even come close to being enough, but it would always be worth it. And I feel like that is the basis for a really good revenge story, because you know you're not doing anything and it's not enough and you're never going to bring anybody back, but it's always going to be worth it. And I think that what they say on the flap where they're talking about redemption, I don't feel like either of these fathers are doing it for redemption, and I don't feel like either of these fathers think they're getting redemption, and nor do I feel like at the end that they are redeemed. I feel like all they are and all they have done is change, And I think that's all you can ask of people, and especially people that you love, that you want to be in your life still. You just need to ask and wait for them to change and want to change. And that's all that happened. And it was a great revenge story, and I loved it. And it was very interestingly written, very well written. The narration was very, very elaborate and precise and detailed and important. And it didn't take away from or change the way these characters would actually speak or would actually interact with each other. Like, in the sense that, like, these men who are ex-cons aren't speaking more cerebrally than you would think that they should, but the way that they are processing the world around them is also so very poetic. And so I just really enjoyed that kind of duality of the writing, and I really just enjoyed this story. I think this is much more of a mystery until the end, and it gets a little bit more thrilling there, but I don't want to say that it was an overall thriller. Much more of a mystery, because that was a very fun thing to unravel. I did not guess the mystery, so that was really awesome. 4 stars. And finally, I finished Anyway the Wind Blows by Rainbow Rowell. So this is the third in the Simon Snow trilogy. I gave this 4 stars. I freaking loved it. This definitively says that this series does not have anything overarching aside from the fact that we're following the same 3 characters throughout the whole story. And I loved it. I thought it was so great. I enjoyed the character development. Like I said, I thought the characters were spot on. I was literally smiling the whole time while I was reading it. I laughed out loud for most of it. It was amazing. The banter is so good. The characters and their interactions are great. Their relationships are great. Their development was great. The mental health discussion was great. So good. And the reason it doesn't get a 5 star, because I believe if it's a series, there should be something overarching. Otherwise, why is it a series? And or why does it have to stop? Why is it a trilogy if there's no overarching theme or storyline? Why can't you have more? Why can't I have more? Give me more. Why should it stop at 3? You didn't do anything overarching. That's all I have to say. Like, give me more. This had nothing to do with the other 2 books, and I loved it regardless. Give me more. I'm waiting. So these are all of the books that I read in February, and this is the one book that I read in January that I didn't get to talk about. And thank you so much for being here today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye! Oh, wait, tell me what you guys read this month and what was your favorite and least favorite books this month. Okay, I'll see you in the comments. Bye!